Okay, can you hear me now? How about now? Can you hear me now? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me now. Thumbs up, can you hear me now? No sound? You can hear me now? All right, Baruch Hashem. Good morning, everyone. We'll start this again. Boker Tov, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Everyone grab a tzedakah box and put in tzedakah. V'dar l'tzedakah shemikarev es ha'geula. And we will say Tehillim today for 115 days since our hostages. Let's daven for them with tremendous kavanah. And let's also daven for every one of those soldiers. And today we're focusing on our soldiers today because it really ties into so much of what our Torah is all about. Chava, are you already in Israel? Chava, are you in Israel? Chava left last night to Israel. Let me know with a thumbs up if you are in Israel, because, I would jump through the phone and be there with you. That is unbelievable. Oh, you're in New York. I had to change over to New York. Okay, Nesiya Tova. Okay, so we're going to start off with chapter Tehillim, focusing on giving positive energy, strong emunah b'tachan to all our hostages, should come home whole, complete, emotionally and physically. And we are going to say Tehillim now for the IDF soldiers, that all those that are fighting should go in, accomplish what they have to do, and come back. And then, of course, to everyone else who needs a refuah shlema. Yes, Clara, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Let's talk about that. Okay, Lam Ratseach, we have here Rachel Bas Vivian, urgent tefillah refuah shlema. Okay, B'shir B'sor Tovot, David. Anyone else want to put down names? We'll have them in mind as we say Tehillim. Hi, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Lam Ratseach Mizmor LeDavid Yancha Adonai B'yom Tzara. Yisagef Hashem Elahei Yaakov. Yishlach Ezracha Mikodesh U'Mitzion Yisadeka. Yiskar Kol Mechosecha V'Lascha Yidash Nesela. Yiten L'chach V'Avecha V'Chol Atzascha Yimale N'Rana B'Shuvasecha V'Shem Eloheinu Nitgol. Yimale Adonai Kol Mashalasecha. Ata Etati Ki Yoshi Adonai Mishicho Yanei Mishmekotcher B'Gvuras Yesha Yemina. Ela V'Recha V'Ela V'Susa V'Nachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Naskir. Hema Karu V'Nafala V'Nachnu Kamnu V'Nisodad. Together. Adonai Hashia HaMelech Hanenu V'Emkarenu. Shifra Rezel Bas Yocheved. Absolutely. And if she's watching now, you should have a tremendous and immediate refuah shlema. We wrote to the Rebbe for you, and Mitzvah Shem, you should just have smooth sailing from today on. Chaim David Ben Itta. Barbara, everyone seems to hear me, so I'm not sure the sound is on. I'm not sure why you're not hearing it, but I feel like it is on. Good morning, Marlene. Barbara, let me know if you can hear me. Okay, so we're going to start off today. I had a substitute yesterday at school, one of my most amazing moras here at Torah Tats. And her son-in-law has been in the army since October 7th. And we are having an evening here at the show, February. I'll give you the date next week, where we're making mezuzah resins. And everyone's going to be able to make their own mezuzah covers, because right now the focus is on how we can protect our soldiers, our hostages, and how we can protect ourselves. And we know that mezuzah is the one thing that is shomer et hayidin. It watches the Jews. It's our protection. So at this evening, we're having two speakers. One is Chaya Kol. She is the mother of a soldier who's been in the army since October 7th. And she is a soldier when it comes to emunah b'tachan. So she's going to come and speak. And there we're having Clear. And Clear Sachs, her son-in-law has been in the army, a young man who just got married. And he is in the army. And Clear is going to be speaking about him as well, and how we can learn from these boys what it means to have bitachon in God. I want to share with you a story that's very much connected to this week's parsha, the one that was just passed, Parshas Bishalach. I'm looking in Parshas Yisro, which is this coming week, and I'm trying to find connections to our space right now in history, I haven't given it enough thought. But last week's parsha actually has some very, very strong message, which I'm going to share with you. Okay, so you might have heard of this young soldier by the name of Akana Wiesel. He was actually a soldier that did not have to go fight in the army, because he had already been in a previous fight in the Operation Protective Edge, and he was wounded in that fight. And so the army told him he is not forced to come. He doesn't have to be part of this endeavor right now. He can go home because he already gave his time and his body, so to speak, to the Jewish community. But we know what happens to our soldiers. The people of Israel are beyond, and he insisted on going. He wrote this letter, which was found after he passed away last week. Imagine. And this is the letter that he wrote. 35-year-old. He is the father of 4 young children. And his wife, hi, good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Aline. His wife read this letter at the funeral. And I'm going to read it to you. And I'm warning you, you better get some tissues. If you're reading these words, something must have happened to me. If I was kidnapped, I demand that no deal be made for the release of any terrorists to release me. Our overwhelming victory is more important than anything else. So please continue to work with all your might so that the victory is as overwhelming as possible. Maybe I fell in battle. When a soldier falls in battle, it is sad. But I ask you to be happy. Don't be sad when you part with me. Touch hearts. Hold each other's hands. Strengthen each other. We have so much to be proud and happy about. We are writing the most significant moments in the history of our nation and the entire world. So please be happy, be optimistic. Keep choosing life all the time. Spread love, light, and optimism. Look at your loved ones in the whites of their eyes and remind them that everything we go through in this life is worth it, and we have something to live for. Don't stop the power of life for a moment. I was already wounded in Operation Tzuk Eitan, but I do not regret that I returned to fight. This is the best decision I ever made. Are there any words to describe this nobility, this love, this purity, this holiness? Are there any words? I think right now we just have to really just close our mouths and open our hearts, because this leaves us actually speechless. Elkanah's message really resonates a lot in this parsha that we just passed, Parshas Beshalach. 80 years ago, this past week, there was another very, very, very important transition that took place with the Jewish people. It was right after the Holocaust, and it was this past week's parsha, Parshas Beshalach. But before I tell you about what happened 80 years ago, I want to talk to you about the parsha that we just read this past week, Parshas Beshalach. Right? What's the main song in the parsha for this past week? You know the words? It's in the Siddur. We say it every single morning. Anybody know what the prayer is? We say it every morning in Shacharis, and it was in the parsha of Beshalach. And it was sung, I'll give you a hint, it was sung by Moshe and all the Jewish people as the Egyptians were coming behind them, and the sea was in front of them, and the Jewish people had nowhere to go. And they were stuck, they say, between a rock and a hard place. Literally, the Jews were stuck between the Egyptians in the back, who had decided at the last moment that they regretted letting the Jews leave. And so they gathered their horses, their soldiers, their manpower, and began to chase the Jews. And when the Jews saw the water in front of them, they turned around to go back, and there were the Egyptians. They sang a song to it, Shirat Hayam. And it is part of our songs that we sing every single morning during Shacharit. Do you know what that song is called? Anybody? Open up the Siddur, find those words. Okay, it's called Az Yashir Moshe. Az Yashir Moshe, and it's song all about what occurred at the foot of the Yam Suf. At the foot of the sea, Moshe sang the song. The Jewish women grabbed their tambourines, and there you go. You have it? Yes. Let me see. No, not Ashrei. No. It's right here. It's right before Yishtabach, and it's the song Az Yashir Moshe. And then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to the Lord, and they sang. Now listen to this, and I want you to listen to this very interesting question that's posed by all the great teachers. It says, Moses and the children sang this song. And what are the words? I will sing to the Lord. One second. You will sing as Yashir? That's in the future. If you're singing now, that was grammatically incorrect. Not as Yashir, I will sing in the future tense. I am singing now. So this is the big question that many rabbis and scholars have focused on. What is the meaning of a song that will be sung in the future if you're thanking God right now? And so, of course, I want to read to you what Rashi quotes. Rashi, the foremost commentary on the Torah, and he's commenting on this. Rashi says in Hebrew, he says like this. He says, in the Talmud we are told that one of the principles of the Jewish faith is Tchiyat HaMesim. What does that mean? Revival of the dead. We say it many times during our prayers. And so in Sanhedrin, it says, Tanya Amar Rabbi Meir, Minayin LaTchiyat HaMesim in Torah. How do we know that there's going to be Tchiyat HaMesim, that there will be revival of the dead? Az Yashir Moshe B'nai Yisrael Zashira Hazos. Shar Lo Namar Ela Yashir. We know that there will be a messianic era and there will be revival of the dead, because death is not the end of the story. The soul continues to live and to exist spiritually. And what is more, the soul will return back to the body. And that is why the Torah chooses to describe this song in the future tense. Why? Because Moshe and the people will return by Tchias HaMesim, and they will sing this song again. And this, of course, is referred to in this parsha, the Parshas B'Shalach, because that is where we know that Moshe will return. For those of us who have lost family members, this is probably the most gratifying piece of Rashi that I've ever read. Right? Losing Zalmi has been very comforting to know that he's not lost forever. Besides the fact that his soul lives on and I feel the energy every day, but I'm actually going to be able to see him and kiss him and hug him and smush him and all the other joys that we had, rolling on the floor and laughing our lives out. It's going to happen again. Do you understand, Jewish friends, how lucky we are that we have a prophecy that promises us Tichiyat HaMesim? And this holy soldier that we just spoke about a minute ago, Elkanah, his family is going to see him again. And when you listen to his wife, you see the strength she has. You think, is there something off with her? Is she like in La La Land? Is she aware? You have a lot of skeptics that talk like that. When they see someone who goes through a tragedy and they go, oh, that guy is like so somewhere else. She is not living in reality. No, they are. We are living in reality. We are living with a Torah that promised us as Tiqeyas HaMesim. We have anchored ourselves to our Torah. And for anyone that's strong out there, for anyone that has positivity or faith, you are going to outlive everyone because of your connection to the Torah. For people that are struggling and sitting in shrinks chairs day and night, there are many of us that have to go through coaches, but we don't depend on them to live. I have a friend, and I'm not going to mention her name. She went through a lot of struggles, but she has connected herself to Torah and connected herself to the belief in bitachon. She is the strongest woman I know. Because despite everything she goes through, she is coming out with so much strength. She is a light in our community. I don't even know if she understands that just her walking around this shul, these streets of Thornhill, people are learning what bitachon is. It's very easy to be skeptical and it's very easy to be sucked into your depression. But when you listen to a pasuk that says, Az Yashir Moshe, in the future, Moshe, you will sing after the resurrection. This song is not only a story of the past, it is a story of the future. So 80 years ago, on this parsha, the Belzer Rebbe, his name was Rebbe Aaron Rokeach, and you might know this name Rokeach, because that's the name of the Belzer dynasty. Like Schneerson is the dynasty of Chabad. All the Rebbes had that name. Rokeach is the Belzer Hasidim. That is their dynasty. This Rebbe lost his entire family in the Holocaust, his wife and his children. He survived and came across to America. He remarried, never had kids. Imagine a booming Hasidic dynasty, gone, decimated. His brother married and had a son. And the son, his name was, I want to find his name, because he was a great man. His son's name was Yisachar Dov. And when the Belzer Rebbe's brother died, he literally adopted this boy and he educated him to become the next Belzer Rebbe. And I actually saw him. He came to visit our Rebbe many times. He rebuilt the Belzer dynasty. Today there are over 50,000 Hasidim with shuls, schools all over the world. And there's actually a beautiful one. I don't know how many of you have ever been to Jerusalem. They have built a synagogue that looks actually outside, it looks like the Beit HaMikdash. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever been to that synagogue. And if you ever go to Israel, you should visit this place. It's really magnificent. And everyone thought that Belz was going to be history, right? Because he lost his children, came to America. He never had children, but he had a nephew. And he made sure that this nephew was going to take over the dynasty and rebuild this dynasty. But I have to tell you what happened. The first Shabbos when he arrived in Israel during the winter of 1944, it was Parshas Beshalach. It was the last Parsha. And that Parsha, he was in Haifa. He was alone in the world, without a single relative except for one brother. During Shabbos, he held a tish, which is what a lot of the Rebbes have. They hold a tish with their Hasidim. They share stories and songs. And during this tish, nobody was singing. The tish that he had back in Poland, where Hasidim would sing and they would share stories and share words of inspiration with Torah, nobody was singing. They were all survivors. Nobody was in the mood of singing. Nobody was in the mood. And the Belzer Rebbe decided to elevate their mood. And he brought up the Parsha and he said, Why is Az Yashir sung in the future tense? He says, because there's going to be Tchias HaMesim. And he turns to his Hasidim around the table and he says to them, my sons, my children, don't die. Don't be distraught. Don't succumb to your depression. We are going to sing again. Look at the parsha that we're singing this week. Az Yashir. And he brought out the siddur and he started to sing with them. And he started to give them the chilling answer of Az Yashir. That just like the Jews then did not want to sing. Do you know that when the Jews left Egypt, do you have any idea how many Jews actually left Egypt? We think 600,000 Jews were standing around the mountain when God gave the Torah. There were millions of Jews in Egypt. How come only 600,000 were standing around Har Sinai? Anybody know?
You must have believed.
80% of the Jews did not make it out.
Of Egypt or?
Out of Egypt. Many of them died during the Makas of Choshech, the plague of darkness. Many of them were afraid to leave, didn't want to leave. 20% of the Jews. So when they made it to the Yam Suf, there wasn't the whole entire Jewish population. How in the world did they sing? So many Jews had died. Their souls were alive, but they died. And so Moshe was standing in front of a community that he knew they weren't making it out. But he said to them, don't worry. Those 80%, they are still with us. And they will come alive by Tchias HaMesim when Mashiach comes. So you have to understand, we are a people. We're different than any other culture, nation, or religion from any world. Anywhere. We have been around since the days of Egypt and before. But since Egypt, when we became and formulated as a nation, we had full of trust. We have a promise from the days of Moshe that when Mashiach comes, we are going to see our loved ones again, and we are going to be reunited again. And so the Belzer Rebbe tells us to his Hasidim, he says, there too, 80% of the Jews didn't come out. We survived the Holocaust. Very, very, very minuscule amount of Jews. But don't worry, he says to his Hasidim, Mashiach's going to come and you're going to see all of your wives and all of your children. I promise you, Az Yashir, we are going to see them. And this is the future and the past amalgamating right there at the Yam Suf. And every morning, when we daven Shachris, I know when I daven Shachris, you know, davening in the morning is not something I do because God said I will have to daven. Davening every morning is my therapy session. I've never walked into a therapist. I'm not boasting. I'm just telling you, I never had to go to a therapist. And I really could have gone because I went through a lot of things in my life. I gave birth to a special needs child and I felt like my life was coming apart. My youngest of 8. And then he developed autism, and so it was Downs, and there was a lot of reasons for me to go to it. But you know what I honestly did? And I don't know if it works for all of you, but I think you should give it a try. I opened my siddur every single morning, and I had a therapy session. I had the best therapist. You might have heard of him. God. And I would pour out my heart, and I cried. And I was angry sometimes. I was troubled. I was scared. There was a lot that was going through a therapy session every morning. Some therapy sessions lasted 10 minutes. Sometimes on a Shabbos they lasted an hour. On a Sunday I had more time. Going to work I had sometimes 5 or 10 minutes. But I never missed my therapy session. Not because God told me I have to daven. God gave me a gift. He gave me connection. He gave me a way to connect with him every single day. And I wasn't going to give up on my therapist, ever. And I still haven't. I don't know how many days I missed davening. Counted on my fingers. Not because I'm holy. but because I'm so human. Because I really, really need my session with my coach. And when I sang Oz Yashir every single day, I knew there was going to be a Mashiach coming. I knew there was going to be a great future. And after Zami passed away, I knew I was going to see him again. I could have gone into a bed under my blanket, never come out, but I popped up. I have an amazing husband who is wiser and more learned than me, and he showed me parts of the Torah that I never knew, and we learned together. We inspired our children to connect to our ultimate therapist, and that is how we get through. This song that we sang in Shabbos Az Yashir, and the song that you and I can sing every morning, because it's part of Shacharis, that is our future. That is our consolation. That we know Hashem is with me at my side. There's going to be Tchias HaMesim. There's going to be a Messianic era. And we are going to see a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful world. I'm reminded of a story of a survivor. When he was in Auschwitz, and he used to wake up in the morning, and he would see the sun shining. He would scream out to God, "Why are you letting the sun shine when the whole world is going up in gas chambers? Why is the sun shining? Why is this beautiful piece of your creation shining on a world that is so dark and dismal and deathly?" And every morning he would say the same thing, "Go away, sun. You don't have to shine. No one needs you here. There's only torture and death." But then he survived. And then every morning he would wake up and he would say, "Yes, the sun set, but the sun rises. And thank you, sun, for rising again today." He says, if I had enough trust in Hashem, if I would have known then what I know now, the sun seems to set, but the sun will rise. And for those of us living in Canada, give me a thumbs up if you're in Toronto. Do you know that since January, the sun was shining not more than 72 hours? That's all the sun we had. And that is very, very, very hard. For people like me who need sunshine, if you know, I have here, look what I have here next to me. My light. I'm lighting up the room because it's so dark outside. We have to believe that there is going to be a story for our people. There's a pasuk that tells us, Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. I want you to say this again with me. Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. Hashem does not lie. The eternal one of Israel, Netzach Yisrael, the eternal one of Israel, lo yishaker, never lies. Moses and the children will sing again, and you and I will be there together with the coming of Mashiach. B'mhera b'yameinu, amen. Have a great week.